Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Washington started 2021 ranked inside the top 20, but then they lost their season opener to Montana, and everything came crumbling down. The Huskies finished a disappointing 4-8, but did have 5 losses by just 1 possession. The Huskies were a lot better than their final record indicated, and new head coach Kalen DeBoer actually inherits a better situation than many think. You take a look at the numbers, guys, brought to you by College Football Encyclopedia, and you see that the Huskies are 38th in the country when it comes to returning production. Not a bad mark at all for a brand new head coach. The area they need the most help, though, is on offense, where they ranked 114th in the nation last year. They averaged just 21.5 points per game and were 125th in the country in the run game, averaging just 98.4 rushing yards per game. Michael Penix steps in at quarterback, transferring in from Indiana to Washington, reuniting with Kalen DeBoer, who was his offensive coordinator at Indiana back in 2019. And they're hoping to spark this offense that had more interceptions last year with 16 than touchdowns with 15. More interceptions than touchdowns in 2021. Defensively, the Huskies, guys, 23rd in the nation in total defense last year. They were first in the country in the passing defense, allowing us 143.3 passing yards per game. This defense is absolutely loaded up front, and they're going to be a force to deal with in the Pac-12. And the defense is going to be the strength and maybe the difference maker in whether or not Kalen DeBoer gets Washington to a bowl game in year 1, or they have to wait at least 1 more year. We take a look at the schedule, guys. It's very manageable, and we'll tell you right now that we do believe Washington starts the year 2-0 with a win over Kent State and a win against Portland State. So they should be 2-0 heading into the biggest test so far against Michigan State. You know, Michigan State's a team that surprised a lot of people last year. They won 11 games, won the Peach Bowl over Pittsburgh, but they're a team that's destined to take a little bit, not big, but a little bit of a step back in 2022. But this is still a Spartans team, guys, that is loaded on offense. Peyton Thorne returns at quarterback. Jarrett Broussard transfers from Colorado within the Pac-12 to Michigan State. And this is a team that does have consistency at the head coaching position with Mel Tucker, and a team that should improve a little bit on defense. A defense that right now I don't believe Washington can exploit. Washington's offense isn't going to drastically become elite in 3 weeks. They might look great against Kent State and Portland State, not against Michigan State. We're going to give the win to the Spartans here. A team that overall collectively seems to be the better football team right now than the Huskies. They then get into their conference games, guys, starting off with Stanford. Washington managed to beat Stanford last year, another disappointing team, beat them 20-13. We've seen a lot of classic matchups lately between Washington and Stanford, some with higher stakes, some with not. But I will say that I do believe they're able to beat Stanford again. They are able to beat Stanford in 2022. They have home field advantage, and the secondary is going to be the difference maker here. Washington, again, the number 1 passing defense in the country last year. Stanford has one of the best quarterbacks and maybe the best wide receiver core within the conference. Which one's going to give? I'm going to give the edge to the Washington defense and the home field advantage. Huskies are 3-1. The schedule gets tough after that. A road game at UCLA. The Huskies fell to the Bruins 24-17 last year and now go on the road. UCLA loves to run the ball. They have a dual threat quarterback in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Zach Charbonnet is back at running back. And Washington's a team that gave up over 190 rushing yards per game last year. That was 108th in the country. So balanced out, great against the pass, bad against the run. And when you're facing a UCLA team that averaged over 215 rushing yards per game, and you're facing them on their turf at the Rose Bowl, to me that doesn't add up for a victory, especially when UCLA might take a little bit of a step forward defensively, and Washington is still going to be figuring out their issues on offense. So give me the win for UCLA. Washington now drops to 3-2. We believe they dropped to 3-3 with a road loss at Arizona State. To me, this is a toss-up. These are 2 teams that are trying to find themselves, but Washington's building themselves back up while Arizona State is crumbling down. The difference here, though, is that Arizona State, again, is a team that I do believe will be able to run the ball effectively against Washington. If Washington cannot fix that defense, if they cannot fix that rushing defense, teams like UCLA and Arizona State, maybe even Arizona, teams like that will be able to run the ball very, very well on them and make life very difficult. So right now I'm going to give the edge to Arizona State, again, because of the run game, and also, again, home field advantage playing a major role here. They come back home, though, they defeat Arizona. Arizona was the worst team in the Pac-12 last year, and while we do think they take a bit of a step forward, especially with all the transfers and recruiting that Jed Fish has brought in, they're still a couple years out from really starting to contend. So it will be competitive, just like last year's meeting, 21-16 in favor of the Huskies. But Washington, again, takes down the Wildcats, and they snap that little 2-game skid there. And they now have, guys, 4 wins. 4 wins on the year, 2 away from a bowl game in Kalen DeBoer's first year up in Seattle. They do drop a game to California, though. California and Washington, these two teams always give each other issues. And more so than anything, it's California that gives Washington issues. The last 3 games between these two teams, guys, have been decided by a combined 10 points. Washington did beat California last year 31-24 in overtime. So another close matchup there. I expect nothing less now. But the game is on the road. California has a fantastic defense, just like Washington. And right now, if I actually had to choose a team that might own the offensive edge, it could be California, who's dealing with a quarterback transfer of their own, Jack Plummer coming in from Purdue. But I'm going to give the edge to California in that offense slightly over Washington. The icing on the cake, again, is home field advantage. That's going to play a major role in a lot of these games. California squeaks by again against Washington. Should be another instant classic, but the Huskies drop this game. They get their bye week heading into the month of November. It's big. Got to win 2 of their final 4 to go bowling. I will say they get 1 win against Oregon State. Washington only lost to the Beavers by 3 last year, 27-24. Now they're off a bye. They're well rested. It's been a lot of games they've had to play. They're well rested. And they get to host the Beavers. They only fell to them by 3 last year in Corvallis. Now they get to host them in Seattle. And my argument is if last year's Washington team that really wasn't all that great, was so bad on offense, can almost beat Oregon State, a team that did go bowling, they can beat them now at home with a better Washington team and off a week of rest. That's the logic there. We believe Washington will improve that much. So Huskies beat Oregon State. They will fall to Oregon. The Ducks have dominated this rivalry series for the last 2 decades. They've dominated them. It's now in Eugene. Washington fell by 10 last year, 26-16. They don't seem to have much luck against the Ducks. Very rarely do they. In Oregon, with the new head coach in Dan Lanning, they're still going to be one of the Pac-12 elites. No doubt about it. And Washington having to go on the road for this game, it just doesn't bode well for them. Oregon, too good up front in the trenches and should have better quarterback play now with Bo Nix. They lose to the Ducks. Now, luckily for Washington, guys, they play the worst team in the Pac-12 in their second to last game of the year, Colorado. They will beat Colorado. That's huge for Washington to get that game now. It's senior day. They know if they can win this game, they've clinched bowl eligibility, and whatever happens in the Apple Cup, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen. They're going to beat Colorado. Somehow they lost to the Buffaloes 20-17 last year, but considering they want revenge, considering it is senior day, considering it is at home, considering that bowl eligibility might be on the line and they don't want to put themselves in a win or go home situation, Washington, I have no doubt, will win this game against the Buffaloes, especially with a Colorado team that right now seems to struggle to find an offensive identity. And the final game of the year, guys, Washington State, the Apple Cup. Washington lost badly to the Cougars last year, 40-13. The Huskies' heart simply wasn't in it. They had nothing to play for other than bragging rights. Washington State had everything to play for. They were playing for Jake Dicker. They were playing for the postseason. They were playing for everything, even though they already clinched bowl eligibility. They wanted that game more than Washington. Things will be different now, 100%. But the Cougars now know they can beat Washington. They had lost, 7, 8 straight against the Huskies at that point? They know they can do it. And now the game is in Pullman. They won. They rushed the field in Seattle last year. They want to rush the field in Pullman. And with the new addition of Cameron Ward, the new air raid quarterback that's coming into Pullman, I believe that Washington State has the offensive capability to win this game over the Huskies. The offense is there to do it. The defense should get better as the year goes on. If Washington is still struggling offensively, the Cougars will take advantage of that. I'm going to give the edge to Washington State here, especially with the game being on their home turf. And Washington and Kalen DeBoer will finish the year at 6-6. And guys, for a first-year head coach, coming off a year where they went 4-8, that is not bad at all. Not great for Washington. Not going to be contending for Pac-12 title in 2022. Under DeBoer, laying the foundation now with this win, getting bowl practices, maybe winning 7 games, they will be contending in just a few years. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. We want you to join our team, guys, make some money, and take advantage of some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the country. So make sure to go to our website and check that out. Sign up today. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.